Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are having a two-part story about a writer who had a spoiled and entitled sister that want to use the writer's wedding preparations for her own. Let's get right into it. My fiancé and I have been together for 8 years and engaged for 3. I was doing my PhD program during this time and was juggling planning the wedding. Luckily, my fiancé took on much of the planning work, which worked out perfectly because our dream venue was booked until after my graduation. We managed to secure a spot at the venue by booking it 3 years in advance. It's a beautiful place, and the only slot available for us was September of this year. A few months ago, my sister got engaged to her fiancé. They were planning a spring wedding for next year, but at the time, they had no venue lined up, though they had already locked down a few vendors and set a date. So our parents invited us, along with our significant others, to a family barbecue. At the barbecue, my sister announced to everyone that she was expecting. Everyone was so excited for her and my brother-in-law, who is a really great guy. It was then that my nan asked my sister if the wedding was still going to be held on the originally planned date, or if they were going to wait because of the pregnancy. My sister replied that she hoped to move it to September, the same month as ours. She mentioned that it wouldn't be an issue because we didn't have many out-of-town guests, and so both weddings could be attended with no problem. Nan seemed happy with this, and even asked my sister if she needed help planning a wedding on such short notice. But then, my sister turned to me and said, "That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. I was really hoping we could take your venue. I really can't stress myself out too much with planning a wedding while I'm going to maternity classes, and I think your venue is just so beautiful. It would really mean a lot to me." It went completely silent after that, and everyone turned to me, waiting for me to respond. They all expected me to say yes, like I would do anything for my little sister. But I couldn't just agree to it, especially after planning for so long. My brother-in-law looked uncomfortable and tried to tell her that it wasn't fair to put me on the spot like that, but my sister dismissed him and said, "Don't be like that. My sister wants to do what's best for me. It's no big deal, right?" I tried to explain. "Well, it kind of is. I've had my heart set on this venue for years." And that's when the tears started. She stormed off, and everyone was looking at me like I was the villain. Nan, upset, told me I was being selfish because my sister needed the venue more than I did. I tried to stand my ground, but then my mother added, "You waited 3 years. Would it have killed you to wait a few more months? When has your sister ever asked you for anything?" A few more comments later, my fiancé got really angry, and we decided to leave the barbecue. On the way home, my sister called me crying, saying that I was being unfair and that I always get what I want. She went on and on about how I could have done this one thing for her. Dad then said that it was just a venue, and that what really mattered was the person you are marrying. While he's kind of right, it still didn't feel fair after all the time and effort we'd already put into this. My fiancé was furious with my family and, honestly, he doesn't even want my sister to come to the wedding now. My family is threatening not to come because they think I'm being selfish and that my sister needs the venue more than I do. After all, having a baby is a stressful time. A little later, my brother-in-law called me and apologized for the situation. He said he'd talked to my sister and that she had told him she wouldn't ask for the venue anymore. He admitted that he was mad at her for putting me in that position and warned me that my sister was now blaming me for potentially ruining her wedding. Then, my dad started sending me a series of texts. He sent me about 5 in a row, including, "I hope you're happy. Your sister hasn't stopped crying since yesterday," and so on and so on. After all this, my fiancé and I decided to remove my sister from the bridal party. We replaced her with my aunt, who's the only family member who has supported me through all of this. We still haven't decided whether or not we'll even invite my family to the wedding. To make matters worse, my mom took it upon herself to call my fiancé's parents and tell them that it would be best if my sister got the venue because she is pregnant and apparently preeclampsia runs in the family. I have no idea what that has to do with anything, but my future father-in-law told my mom to F off and basically gave her a piece of his mind for making such a ridiculous request. He also made it clear that if they kept playing favorites, they were going to lose me. Now, my mum is crying too, saying that my father-in-law is a butthole. The whole situation is so ridiculous. It feels like something straight out of a bad soap opera. My in-laws, seeing how upset I was, came over to our place with dinner and wine to help calm me down. They reassured me that no matter what happens, they will always be my safety net. I was so overwhelmed by their support that I ended up crying, but in a good way. And that's the end of the first part of the story. What do you think of the story so far? Let me know in the comment section. Welcome back. In today's story, we will continue the story of a woman who had a spoiled and entitled sister that wanted to use her wedding preparations for her own. In case you missed part 1 of this story, here's how it went down. The narrator and their fiancé had been planning their wedding for years, securing their dream venue 3 years in advance. At a family barbecue, the narrator's sister, who is pregnant, asked to take the narrator's wedding venue for her own wedding, which was also set for September. The narrator, having planned for years, said no, leading to family conflict. The narrator's mother and grandmother called them selfish, while the fiancé became furious with the family's behavior, which led the narrator eventually removed her from the bridal party. The situation escalated when the narrator's mother tried to influence the fiancé's parents, causing further strain. In the end, the narrator's fiancé supported them, and they decided to set boundaries with their family, though the conflict still lingers. Then let us get into the end of this story. My sister stumbled upon the post I made in my F's book and completely lost it. She texted me accusing me of making her look like a lunatic, claiming I had misrepresented everything. She said I was being unfair, that family is what matters most, and that she had asked me nicely because she loves me. She also insisted that the opinions of internet strangers don't count, and I should focus on making my family happy, because that's what's really important. The only thing I sent back was simple and to the point. I'm sorry you perceived it that way. I didn't distort anything. As you might notice, I didn't describe your tone or exaggerate. Maybe you remember that night differently, but I digress. I'm tired of constantly bending to your will. My whole life I've been your doormat. Do you remember all the birthdays I had to share with you just because you'd throw a tantrum if you didn't get presents? Or when you cried and begged me to fill out job applications for you? But the thing that still hurts the most is when you ruined my graduation. I'm done. Yes, I've spoiled you, but I'm not doing it anymore. If you're so desperate to get married before your baby arrives, you can look at hotels that offer last-minute weddings. I've spent too much time planning my wedding to just give it to you. And if you want to destroy our relationship over this, then go ahead. I'll sleep soundly, knowing it wasn't my fault. Her response? Wow, You must love me very much." Then she blocked me. But, of course, she unblocked me later, just to send me something else. A screenshot of a text conversation between my wedding planner and my sister, which absolutely blew my mind. The wedding planner's message read, "Hello, dear. I got the message from your mother and will proceed with the rebooking of the venue. However, this will incur extra costs as we have to change the names on the contract. Please come by my office tomorrow to sign the new contract." And my sister's reply was, "That's great. I'll be there at 9 o'clock. My parents haven't actually written me since the thing with my father-in-law." Naturally, this worried me a lot. So I called my older brother, who lives in another city. He had originally planned on skipping the wedding because of work, but after hearing about all the drama, he changed his mind and called me. He was confused and wanted to know what had happened because Mom had told him a totally different version of the story. Apparently, she had said that I had offered the venue to my sister before the barbecue and that I humiliated her in front of everyone. I told him the truth about what really went down, and he didn't hesitate to believe me. We ended up talking for a long time about our parents and their behavior, and he admitted that part of the reason he moved was due to how badly they treated us. He even called them out for being, and I quote, "heads to us," which was a bit of an eye-opener. He also told me that Mom had somehow found out about the post and was furious, claiming I had betrayed the family. I haven't written back to my parents yet, though, because I'm coming to terms with the fact that they love my sister more than they love me. If they love me at all. It's honestly a hard pill to swallow. As for the wedding, we had already set passwords with most of our vendors and the venue directly to avoid any further drama. We hadn't talked to the planner yet, which is why my sister's message threw me into a panic. Then, to top it off, we had to cancel the catering that my parents had paid for. We won't be able to have the big fancy catering we originally wanted. But luckily, my friends and my fiancé's family all stepped in to help. We're going to have a buffet-style dinner with everyone chipping in to prepare it together. And that's going to serve as our bachelor party as well. A family and friends cookout session. I got in touch with the wedding planner, and she was just as horrified as I was. She told me she hadn't even spoken to my mom since we booked the venue. And she reassured me that even if my parents called and demanded changes, I had to be present for that to happen. To avoid any further issues, we decided to hire security for the day. At a reduced price, thankfully, just to make sure nothing went wrong. A few days passed, and we were able to sort a lot of things out. The passwords with the vendors were confirmed, the security was in place, and everyone pitched in for the cookout recipes. It wasn't going to be the wedding we originally dreamed of, but we were making it work. And honestly, it felt like the best option at this point. About an hour before the ceremony was set to begin, I saw my parents and sister walking toward the venue. My heart immediately sank. I wasn't sure what they planned to do, but I could feel the tension in the air. My mum was already talking loudly, trying to get someone's attention. It was obvious they were trying to make a scene, probably to causing a scene to humiliate me. I glanced at the entrance where the security was posted, keeping a low profile but very much present. And thank God I hired them. As soon as they saw my parents approaching, the security team moved to intercept them. I could hear my mother's voice growing louder as she argued with the security guard, demanding to be let through. She tried to push past him, saying, "This is our daughter's wedding. We have a right to be here." But the guard stood firm. his posture unyielding. He simply asked her to show her invitation and the password, which she, of course, didn't have. My sister, standing off to the side, was starting to get more agitated. I could see her whispering something to my mum and pointing toward me. I knew she was trying to rally them to make a scene, but it didn't matter. The security guard had been instructed to call for backup if they caused any more trouble. I felt a strange sense of relief watching this unfold. There was nothing they could do. All their attempts to clash and create chaos at my wedding were being blocked at every turn. No guilt trips, no pressure. Just a firm line in the sand that I wasn't going to let them cross. I took a deep breath and turned back to my fiancé. He saw the expression on my face and gave me a reassuring smile, silently telling me that everything would be okay. As the ceremony started, I couldn't help but feel I had completed something in me. On top of all of this, I also decided to start therapy after my wedding because I realized just how much emotional weight I had been carrying. Seeing all the support from everyone on the post and my fiancé's, no, he is my husband now, his family, my brothers and my friends has really helped me feel stronger. I now realized how much this situation had affected me and how far the tension with my family had gone. Still, I can't ignore the fact that this whole ordeal made me feel supported. And now, I know that I have a solid safety net of people who truly have my back. And that's the end of this story. What do you guys think? Do you have anything to say to the writer? Let me know in the comments section.